Hi friends, I'm Gautam Manchandani and welcome to this video of time. Today's video we are just going to talk on the Union Parliament. We are going to see some important questions like what is a government, what are the few types of government, and then we'll take into or we'll more focus more on the Indian Parliament. We'll quickly see the working of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and some few terms. Now, to start with immediately, what do you think? What's a government? Who is a government? What is the government supposed to do? So, government, who is government? Government is a set of people or institutions who are authorized legally to rule in a country. Predominantly, they are elected by the people. If it's a democracy, we'll get into those details quickly soon enough. So, government are officially people or institutions which rule over the people, conduct the administration over a country. What are the functions of a government? If I have to quickly, not getting into much detail of functions, but only quick, very few functions. What is the role of a government? Why do we need a government? We need a government in a country so that the country can, be operating on an organized manner where we have some rules and regulations, and we have an authority who will ensure that these rules and regulations are executed. So if we say that what are the functions of a government? Functions of a government is simple: to rule over people, to make policies, and to ensure there is law and order inside the country. These are some of the basic functions of the government. Now, if we see another one, types of government, there are certain types of government. We're going to speak on monarchy. Monarchy is hardly existent in today's world. If we say monarchy, we simply mean that kings and queens who used to rule over countries. Earlier, there were times when the kings and the queens were given divine right, or they used to claim divine right that we have the right to rule over the people. There were certain limitations which slightly started coming up because the king or the queen could behave in their own way while ruling over the country. Over a period of time, the powers started getting limited because they were supported by nobles and other such people, noblemen. And there came, in fact, a point of time where there were constitutions written. So the French Revolution is a good example wherein we had a constitution written which used to, control over the power of the king. Monarchy, not a very popular form of government in today's times, though. Then if we see aristocracy, similar, a very old type of concept. Aristocrats are noblemen who used to support a king, but they were more of like power brokers. They used to supply or have connections with knights and other such people who used to support the king, win a territory, and then they had the profit sharing formulae, whatever the case was. Both of them are older form of government. If we talk of democracy, this is something we experience in our country. Democracy. What does democracy simply mean? Democracy simply means that you have a government which is represented by the people. That means anybody from the public at regular interval can stand up for election and can rise up the ranks and be a part of the government and rule over people. That is a democracy. We feel we choose people who will rule over us, and we feel that is the best form of government, as this would help us express our views maximum. So while there were restrictions in monarchy and aristocracy, a democracy, we would say, is much more liberal form of government. If other type of governments, if we take dictatorship, dictatorship is another extreme form of government where generally you have a military authority taking over the country. He is absolute ruler. He or she might not entertain any other, free opinion of people, and it would be a very strict rule-driven system. Wherein if this is the rule, this has to be followed, and that is it. There are no exceptions to it. So democracy, not a dictatorship, not a very famous kind of government, but yes, it is existent in today's world. North Korea is one example to cite it. One type of government is oligarchy. In oligarchy, what happens is you have a group of individuals, specifically rich individuals, who tend to control over the country. Some of the few examples in different times, so we can say Russia at one point of time in 1991, there were certain individuals who were ruling, and it was a form of oligarchy government. Now, coming to the Indian Parliament, when we come to the Indian Parliament, what do we say? If I have to write it in a mathematical way, the Indian Parliament, how can I write it? It's very simple. So I'll write the Indian Parliament is nothing but it equals to the president and the bicameral legislatures in simple words. Bi would mean for two. Bicameral legislatures, which means we'll have two bodies who would be discussing and organizing. In simple words, it means nothing but it simply means Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. And the Rajya Sabha. Yeah, so Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, you are aware that Lok Sabha or the House of Commons and Rajya Sabha, which is known as the House of Lords. It is derived from the UK parliamentary system, House of Commons and House of Lords. That's what we have, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Predominantly, we say that the president is the ceremonial head. He is the supreme commander of forces and he is the supreme authority over all the decisions. However, he is strongly supported by the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers would be the actual executors. It would be the president's name under which all these decisions would be taken. Okay. Now, coming quickly to the Lok Sabha. What's the term of Lok Sabha? Lok Sabha, we said that it's a house of common people. It is the biggest legislative body which is there. If you see the number of, if you see the term, a typical Lok Sabha term will last for 5 years under normal circumstances. Please note that Lok Sabha is that portion of the parliament which gets dissolved, which might get dissolved. That means a term can be lower than 5 years also. If there is a no confidence vote passed against the Lok Sabha, it can get dissolved early. However, ideally, in today's time, we have seen Narendra Modi. This year, we are going for elections this coming month, April 2019. So we know that Narendra Modi's government has successfully completed 5 years. Yeah. So Lok Sabha. Composition. If we see composition, number of members. So total number of members which are there in Lok Sabha are 552. It's a very simple split. So we have 530 people who are elected from the states. 530 members are from the states. 530 members are elected from the states. Around 20 members are elected from union territories, and we might have 2 members. It is not mandatory. We might have 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community who are nominated by the Anglo-Indian community who are nominated by the president. So this is the split of or the composition of Lok Sabha. I'll come quickly to the qualification and disqualification. We'll pause for this for just half a second. Coming to Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, the term here, let's see the term here. We said the term for Lok Sabha was 5 years. For Rajya Sabha, it is 6 years. One basic point of difference out here is Rajya Sabha is a permanent house. Rajya Sabha can never get dissolved, ever. But there's a system. What is the system? So, 1/3 of the members of Rajya Sabha retire every 2 years. So by the time we finish 6 years, all the members have retired at least once in a span of 6 years. So every 2 years, 1/3 member will go. In the 3rd and the 4th year, 2/3 of the member will go. And by the time 3rd year, the 4th, 5th, and the 6th year comes in, the whole Rajya Sabha is completely changed. The composition, we have around 250 members total. Out of that, 230 are from states, 238 are elected from states, and again we'll have 12 members which are nominated by the president. Now, who are these members? These members are people who have special knowledge in the field of literature, art, science, and social science. So, if I have to give one of the examples, let's take Hema Malini. We know that she is a famous actress, and obviously she's been nominated by the president in the Rajya Sabha. Similarly, we have this was in the field of performing arts or films. Let's take another aspect of it. What about Mary Kom? Mary Kom is a sportsperson. We know she's a famous boxer, and she's won accolades for India, and she's also part of the Indian Parliament. Okay. Qualifications. Now, composition. This was a composition. Now, qualifications and disqualifications are very similar for the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha members. Let's look at the qualifications. What are the qualifications? It's very simple. Qualifications and disqualifications are very similar. There are very minor point differences. So when we talk of qualifications, we said that every person should be an Indian citizen. He or she, whoever is desiring to stand in the election as a member, should be an Indian citizen. What does this mean? This also means that the person should appear, the name of the person should appear in a, you are right, the name of the person should appear in a electoral roll. So name of the person should appear in electoral roll in India. Okay. Age of the person should be 25 years in case of 25 years in case of Lok Sabha. In case of Rajya Sabha, there's the only difference which is there. So Lok Sabha 25 years and Rajya Sabha it is 30 years. Lok Sabha is 25 years, Rajya Sabha is 30 years. What else should be there? There are certain other criteria which should not be there. Like, for example, he or she should not be an insolvent. What do we mean by insolvent? What do we mean by insolvent, and why is this criteria here? By insolvent, we would mean that the liabilities of the person is more than the assets he or she owns. That means they have to pay more to the people rather than the money they're supposed to receive. Insolvent. Why do we have this criteria out here? What happens if someone is insolvent and gets as a member of the parliament? Yeah, there are issues. In fact, this works as a filtering criteria, because as a member of parliament, you do have certain privileges where people cannot touch you legally very easily. And so that people do not take disadvantage of this particular fact. So the screening is very necessary. It is to be conducted. So there are certain criteria which bar people from getting it. So one is people, he or she should not be insolvent. Second one, obviously, he or she should not be a criminal. Because there are certain privileges what the members have, wherein probably police would not be in a condition to arrest them. Yeah. Okay. Third, next one. He or she should not be of unsound mind. What do you mean by unsound mind? By unsound mind, it simply means that the person should be in his or her senses and should be able to take good decisions. And final criteria is he or she should not hold office of profit. Now, what do we mean by office of profit? By office of profit, we simply mean that a person cannot hold, cannot be a government employee as well as work for the, or be in the government itself. Being a government employee and being in the government administration as well, or being in a, so if I have to so you just have known that. So 2014, if you remember, Narendra Modi, he was the chief minister of Gujarat, and when he was contesting and he got elected as the prime minister of India, he had to resign from his post of that of the chief minister of Gujarat, and then he could come over. Office of profit simply would mean that person cannot derive multiple benefits by being in more than one or two more posts inside the government. Okay, so these are the qualifications we quickly discuss. The only difference was the age criteria for Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, if we see the disqualifications, should it be very tough? Not exactly. Why? Because all the opposite of these points are the disqualifications. We can add one more point probably for the disqualification itself, and that single one point is that if you are being barred by any kind of law of the land or the country that you cannot hold on, or if you are a foreign citizen, these are the only two extra points which will give you the disqualifications. So I hope you have enjoyed this session out here. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.